What if your comfort food isn't so comfortable after all? What if that piece of chocolate you go for after a long day, the dark square you've been assured is heart-healthy, or the smooth truffle wrapped in gold foil, is actually doing more damage than good? Because in April 2025, the United States Food and Drug Administration confirmed something that should shock every chocolate lover. Several top-selling chocolate brands which you've trusted for years were found to have lead and cadmium levels high enough to violate California's Proposition 65 safety standards. In plain English, some of the most recognizable chocolate brands in your pantry may be secretly harming you over time. And it does not end there. Behind the packaging and feel-good commercials lie lawsuits, environmental devastation, and terrible reports of child labor. While we enjoy each bite, someone else, far away, is paying the price with their health, future, and safety. So how did we get here? How did chocolate, once a symbol of delight, become a deadly maze of broken promises and hidden dangers? In this video, we look at 7 well-known chocolate brands that have faced criticism for using harmful heavy metals and unethical sourcing practices. Some will surprise you. Others, you presumably put them in a lunchbox this week. This is not just about food. It's about trust, honesty, and what we tolerate in the name of convenience. První Godiva. Let's start with Godiva, the brand that turned poison into luxury. Godiva has always marketed more than chocolate. It sold a feeling. That heart-shaped box was more than simply sweets. It was an apology, a celebration, and a symbol of beauty. With its gold packaging and Belgian roots, Godiva promised quality, romance, and refinement. However, in 2025, that murmur evolved into something sinister. Consumer safety investigations found that Godiva's 72% dark chocolate and signature truffles contained lead levels that exceeded acceptable daily limits. Lab tests detected more than 1.1 micrograms of lead per serving, above the limits imposed by California's Proposition 65. Lead is more than just a terrifying word. Long-term exposure has been linked to cognitive decline, renal damage, and developmental delays, which are particularly worrisome for elders and young children. And the deception did not stop with the ingredients. A human rights study has linked Godiva to exploitative cocoa procurement practices in West Africa. Despite years of polished claims and slick environmental ads, whistleblowers discovered children as young as 12 working in dangerous conditions, exposed to chemicals and tough labor for a few dollars per day. It stings because Godiva marketed itself as a ethical luxury. But what's the truth? It's more of a guilt trip in gold foil. A premium price tag does not imply a premium conscience. If you've ever given someone a box of Godiva chocolates thinking it indicated you're special, it's time to reconsider what it actually meant. Because the next time you unwrap that golden ribbon, you might be getting a little lead and a lot more falsehoods. 2. Hershey's. Hershey's is American comfort in a package. It's the bar you grew up with, s'mores over the campfire, Halloween goodies, and that distinct crinkle when you peel back the foil. It feels safe, familiar, like childhood in chocolate form. But by 2025, that nostalgia had burst wide open. Consumer Reports examined a sample of chocolate bars and found that Hershey's Special Darkened Milk Chocolate contained lead and cadmium levels that exceeded the California Proposition 65 safety guidelines. One serving of the dark bar contained roughly 0.9 micrograms of lead and 0.7 micrograms of cadmium, which raises major health concerns. These aren't just numbers to older individuals. Long-term exposure to these metals can weaken bones, harm kidneys, and speed up memory loss. For the parents, it means the sweet treat packed lovingly into a lunchbox may come with unanticipated consequences. Then followed the legal repercussions. A class action complaint in New York accused Hershey's of failing to communicate these risks, and investigations into their supply chain revealed links to child labor in West African cocoa farms, where children carry 100-pound sacks and work in poisonous fields, all while the company airs advertising promoting joy and innocence. Hershey's may still smile at you from the shelves. However, it now feels more like a wolf dressed in warmth, because the heritage conceals an unpleasant truth. 3. Ghirardelli. Ghirardelli has always felt like a postcard from old San Francisco. Nostalgic, wholesome, and proudly American. You'd walk into one of their stores and be greeted with a warm sample, similar to a grin in chocolate form. It was the type of brand you proudly served at weddings and family meals. However, by 2025, the sheen had worn off. An independent test investigation identified Ghirardelli's 86% cacao intense dark squares as having cadmium levels nearing dangerous territory, 0.88 micrograms per serving, which is close to the limitations of California's Proposition 65 and exceeds thresholds in some regions of Europe. Long-term cadmium exposure has been linked to kidney failure, damaged bones, and immune system damage, which is especially harmful for elderly persons. Then began the unethical behavior. A Bloomberg investigation linked Ghirardelli's cocoa procurement to deforested regions in Ghana, where local farmers were allegedly relocated without compensation. Satellite imagery showed protected forests being demolished for cocoa growth. For a firm that claims its chocolates are crafted with care, this was anything but. By May, portions of Europe had begun limiting imports of Ghirardelli dark chocolate until it could fulfill new safety standards. Longtime customers, particularly those who identified the brand with tradition, felt betrayed by an old friend. The question is no longer merely about the chocolate's ingredients. It's about what's been lost behind the label: trust, integrity, and a sense of security. Quarta Lindt. Lindt wears luxury like a second skin. Every advertisement exudes luxury. Golden wrappers, slow-motion pictures of melting chocolate, candlelit halls where truffles are passed down like heirlooms. For years, Lindt was the brand to give when you wanted to communicate. You matter. But by 2025, the slick illusion began to crumble. Consumer watchdog groups tested hundreds of dark chocolates and discovered that Lindt's 85% Cocoa Excellence bar contained one of the highest levels of cadmium on the market, approximately 0.96 micrograms per serving. That is far higher than the acceptable daily exposure limits, which is especially troubling for persons with compromised health. Cadmium is not a minor threat. It accumulates over time in the kidneys, bones, and circulation, and does not go peacefully. What makes matters worse is that Lindt's marketing frequently promotes dark chocolate as a healthier indulgence. The very bar that people set for themselves in the pursuit of well-being may be secretly working against them. Then came the environmental stomach hit. An investigation found that Lindt's indirect cocoa suppliers were involved in illegal deforestation and child exploitation. Satellite images from Ghana revealed thousands of acres of forest stripped, with youngsters spraying pesticides barefoot and without protection. Lindt released a polished statement, pledging internal assessments. However, the lack of transparency and action plans gave the impression that it was simply damage control. It turns out that luxury does not always come clean. It sometimes comes with medals and shame. 5e Nestle. Nestle never required an introduction. It's baked into the fabric of home, like chocolate chips in warm cookies, cocoa mix for snow days, and snack-sized bars hidden into Halloween bags. For many, Nestle is more than simply a brand. It is a memory. What happened next felt like pure treachery. In early 2025, the FDA initiated a formal review of Nestle's Toll House dark chocolate chips after internal testing revealed lead levels averaging 1.05 micrograms per serving, which exceeded California's Proposition 65 safety regulations. Consumer Reports quickly validated the findings, ranking Nestle as one of the highest-risk brands for cumulative heavy metal exposure. Lead exposure is most deadly for children and pregnant women, but even healthy adults are susceptible. It has been linked to cognitive decline, exhaustion, and brain damage, all from a handful of chocolate chips. Then came the severe decay. An international research revealed persistent linkages between Nestle and forced labor in the Brazilian cocoa sector. Migrant workers were discovered living in tin shacks, stuck in debt bondage, and working 12-hour days for only $2. It was the type of controversy that makes fond memories chilly, because when a business built on family turns out to be secretly hurting them, both physically and ethically, the damage extends beyond the wrapper. What's the truth? Nestle's sweetness comes at a price that few of us are willing to pay. 6. Dove. Dove chocolate has always felt soft, safe, and sweet. The kind of brand that slips into your shopping cart without a second thought. The wrappers greet you with affirmations. The branding whispers indulgence without guilt, and the chocolate itself is marketed as the silkiest, smoothest escape from stress. But in 2025, that escape came with a warning label. Consumer watchdogs tested Dove's 70% dark chocolate bar and found it contained elevated levels of lead and cadmium, enough to exceed California's Proposition 65 daily safety limits. Lead exposure can impair brain function, especially in children, and cadmium is known to damage kidneys and bones. For a brand often marketed toward women seeking self-care or balance, this felt like a betrayal of trust, wrapped in a foil quote. It didn't stop with the ingredients. A class action lawsuit filed in Illinois accused Dove's parent company, Mars, of misleading marketing practices, presenting their dark chocolate as a healthy indulgence, while hiding toxic risks. Consumers who once turned to Dove for comfort suddenly found themselves asking hard questions. How long have we equated sleek design with safety? And how many brands count on our silence, hoping we never read past the label? Sometimes, even sweetness has a sharp edge. 7. Theo Chocolate. Theo Chocolate was supposed to be different. From the start, it branded itself as a moral alternative to big chocolate, fair trade, organic, artisanal. It's the kind of bar you buy at a local co-op or health food store, proudly telling yourself you're voting for ethics with every bite. The packaging is earthy, the messaging is loud. Good for people, good for planet. But in 2025, that story took a turn. Consumer Reports listed Theo's 85% dark chocolate bar among the highest cadmium offenders, testing at levels far beyond what's considered safe by California's Proposition 65 standards. Cadmium is a metal that doesn't leave the body easily. Over time, it can damage your kidneys, weaken your bones, and compromise your immune system. For customers who paid more to avoid precisely these risks, the disappointment was visceral. Theo issued a press release stating they were reviewing supplier protocols and exploring additional testing, but critics were quick to point out the lack of transparency. No third-party lab results, no clear remediation plan, just carefully crafted language and silence. And that's what stings most, when the brands that claim to do better don't even try hard enough to prove it. Maybe ethics need more than just a label. Maybe they need receipts. Maybe chocolate wasn't designed to carry so much weight. It began as a source of comfort, a reward, a routine, a small joy that didn't need to be explained. However, today, every shiny wrapper feels like a question mark. Is this safe? Is this ethical? Is it worthwhile? We've seen trusted brands like Godiva, Hershey's, Ghirardelli, Lindt, Nestle, and even Trader Joe's exposed for something most of us didn't expect: unsafe amounts of lead and cadmium. And what's underneath the metal? Even harsher stories: child labor, deforestation, and corporate silence wrapped in foil and branding. But here's the most difficult truth to swallow. These companies exist solely because we allowed them to. Our purchases, our naive trust, our desire for convenience are what power this machine. And if we don't ask questions, demand transparency, and hold these businesses accountable, the system will not simply survive, it thrives. What is the good news? We still possess power. We can support ethical brands, verify lab results, and raise awareness when something isn't right. Even modest efforts, such as choosing better chocolate or sharing this video, have a much larger impact than you realize. So ask yourself, when was the last time you felt cheated by a trusted brand? If this video made you pause and think twice before taking your next mouthful, please leave a comment. Share your experiences. Most importantly, click the subscribe button to join us in discovering the facts no one else will talk about. Because this isn't all about chocolate, it's all about choice.